have the hottest stuff in town. Big shots to fool me around. You can give me anything you've got. Big sack of potatoes and worth a lot. No. Ran my distance at a sand. Stole from a cuckoo's nest. Give me anything you've got. Ain't got no money in my bank account. And I'm living. So you have the hottest stuff in town. Big shots to fool me around. Give me anything you've got. Ain't got no money in my bank account. And I'm living. Why don't you buy my thing? Why don't you buy my thing? Yeah. Why don't you buy my thing? Big stars, diamond rings, oh yeah.
Hello, um, I'm seeing that I have changed something. Snivel Joel says, I was just solving tactics on C.com. They must have been changing the rating algorithms. I'm 1850 now. Maybe due to watching me. That would be nice. Makes me proud. Let me first try to fix the chat on the stream, because as you can see I've been changing some stuff in the and the chat cannot be, it's not very readable. Chat, it's just changing the color, what I want to do. All the color is right. I've set up the color to white, but for some reason the messages are not being shown properly. Maybe I cannot fix it. It's totally ignoring me when I change any color. So okay, the chat is not going to be properly shown in this stream. I hope in the next one I have it fixed. Let's go to the tactics. So learn puzzles. Snavel Joel asks, what do you scan for first in a tactic? Material count, hanging pieces, forcing moves, or double attacks? Yeah, the answer is yes to all of those. I think it pretty much depends on the position. When you are doing puzzles, positions are, each position is new. When you are in a game, it's a different story, because you already come from a lot of context and knowledge about the position. But yeah, if I'm given a new position like this one, I think it depends on some patterns you have in your mind. Like here, the first thing that really strikes me is this king very exposed, so I'm thinking things like queen e4 probably come first to my mind than counting the material, for example. But yeah, when it comes to count material, I think it's something I'm forcing myself to do. I really need to decide to cut material to do it. It's not something unconscious. But for some other patterns, it's kind of unconscious. Like you see a position and you see a pattern, a very common pattern, like a checkmate pattern, a double attack, a hanging piece. So this piece is hanging here, so that also suggests queen c1 as a candidate move. This is also hanging here, but I don't see a way to attack it. Like, I don't know if the king, if the queen was lined up with the king, I would probably see a pattern there, and maybe some rook being I would search for. So yeah, sometimes you try to have a method. you you generally want to have a method so that you can solve any tactic in the same way, but it does. I think it doesn't work like that, especially when it comes to patterns. They just come to your mind because of the experience and having seen them a lot of times before, and that applies to not only the starting position, but also when you are calculating new positions in your mind. You are calculating lines for each new position. Some patterns come very easy to your mind as well. Okay, here I have a lot of candidate moves, and all of them have to do with checks. The thing is, the king is very exposed, but first of all, I want to ask myself what's the material count, because, for example, I'm seeing a move that probably wins a piece. Is that enough? So I have one rook for 2 pieces. That's the material count. Besides that, the rest of the material is the same. And my rook is attacked by that bishop, so winning that bishop seems seems really okay. Also considering what are white's threats. By the way, I would add to the list your opponent's threat. I think it's important to see your opponent's threat, to sometimes decide between different options, the one that fights the most against your opponent's ideas, and some other times to assess if you're trying to attack or trying to defend, because sometimes your opponent's threats are so huge. For example, if he had the queen somewhere around here, he would be threatening some checkmates, and then the tactic would be totally different. I wouldn't be looking for winning a piece, I would be looking for saving the checkmate. So since I have a rook for 2 pieces, winning a piece seems okay. So queen c1 followed by queen takes bishop. I don't see anything wrong with that. The king will still be very exposed, the knight will be still in the rim, and this queen will be doing nothing. Hello, Elfin Tree. I'm happy. I'm a happy guy. But thank you for your wishes. But these 2 checks are also interesting because they are almost checkmate. I see 2 people here. You see people in the chat. Interesting. Snavel Joe is in the chat, definitely. Yeah, this is almost mate, but knight f3 is it's a good answer, I guess. When you block a queen check with a knight close to the king is really safe. So I cannot see further checks or further wins there. So this check would force king to g3, but I have the feeling that the king is better on g3 than on f4. Then he has h2 available, so unless I have something with this rook over here that I don't see, I think I'm gonna just win the piece. Maybe there is some way to check with the queen and get a rook check into the game. That's true, that's a good point. I didn't consider queen d2 check, which is also a check that is available in the position. The problem is f1 is protected, so I don't see a way to continue with a rook check. The king will, I think, always go to g3, h2 if given the chance, and the only check that does not allow it is queen f2, which is very likely answered by knight f3, and there's no more checks. If pawn on d5 was missing, yeah, that would be nice. Rook jump into d4, but I need to be a grandmaster to jump over my pieces. I cannot do this on chess. So yeah, I think the question is there any problem in winning this piece? Queen c1 check, king back, queen takes bishop, check. Okay, so this even discourages him from going to g3, because then I have a really nice check. Oh, I'm mixing the colors. Then after this check, rook f4, I have rook f1. So he needs to go back to the open field with the king. And if he moves somewhere else, if he doesn't move here, he cannot move here, he's gonna be in open field again. So yeah, I think queen c1 is like a very good move to do. Rook c8 torturing and improving threat. The problem is we're down on material. If we win that piece, we're up on material, but if we allow him to leave, you mean that if he moves the bishop, then we have rook c4 check. That's your point. Okay, I understand that. But then what about queen d7 threatening the rook and checkmate? And defending the bishop. Then I might be in some trouble, I guess. Then I still have queen c1, queen takes c7, but why would I do it in that fashion? Huh. Yeah, queen d7 is annoying, I think. I'm basically allowing him to trade queens in that line. Rook c8, you know, compared to the line where I just take the piece immediately. If I go rook c8, queen d7, queen c1 check, king moves, I think I have to take on c7 to defend it against the checkmate. Then he trades queens, and yeah, the material is not so different than in the other line, but why would I allow him? Rook takes c7. What? No. Rook c8, queen d7 threatens mate on g7. You cannot do rook takes c7, I think. Maybe he even has knight g6, but okay, I guess after rook takes c7, he takes on c7, and he still has the checkmate threat, and he has queen e5 protected. Okay, L-Flying 3. No, I didn't read them. It would be good get the king on the 5th rank, and if pawn on d5 was missing again, if was it taken, he's not gonna take that pawn. We cannot rely on our own pieces to disappear. Just play queen e4 check and move the pawn to... Oh, can't move pawn. Yeah, queen e4, king g3, our queen is on pre. Okay guys, it's been some minutes already with this one. I'm gonna take the bishop, and yeah. I mean, there's absolutely no problem in this position. There can't be anything better than this. If rook c8, I was afraid of queen d7, but I guess he has a lot of moves here, different moves. For example, just move the bishop out. Maybe here, I'm not sure. Let's say here. And if rook c4 check, well, maybe this is a little bit risky. I agree with that, because now f1 is available. Yeah, queen d7. Or even queen takes d5. Queen takes d5 and we cannot take the bishop. Yeah, that's even stronger, I guess, for white. Although now we have this check. Queen e5 is mate in two if you remove the bishop. What do you mean? Like in... I don't understand you. I mean, you said rook takes e7 here, but if he takes a rook, he's defending e5. And even if he's not, it's not checkmate as far as I can see. Ah, you have rook f1 checkmate next. Okay, that was your point. But yeah, queen takes rook just defends e5 and still threatens mate. And mate and mate and mate. I mean, our king is really in trouble here. Actually, if he doesn't take the rook and he goes here, it's gonna be mate. So he doesn't need to take a rook. He just mate us on the back rank if we take the bishop. So if we cannot take the bishop, then we're screwed because we don't even have the other check here. Yeah, rook c8 would be bad. Okay, let's continue. Knight to a5, that doesn't feel right. But this is from an opening. Let us see the whole opening. This was a Sicilian with bishop c4. Wow. And c3 now. So it sort of transposes to an Alapin where white played bishop c4 and black allowed d5. This is not good. And now knight a5. Okay. So we have some interesting options here. The check is really interesting because if he ever puts a piece here, d6 can win the piece. This is very similar to my game last Saturday that I was analyzing here on Sunday. So I guess this check forces him to put the queen here. I'm not sure if that's really great for us. I mean, he undefends the knight, but we cannot attack it immediately. We should have something better. Start with d6. Yes, I was considering to start with d6, but he can take it. And I'm wondering if there's anything on f7. That's what I was calculating. I guess after d6 he has a choice between bishop takes d6 or bishop takes f3. Oh, the pawn is defended on d6. Yeah, I was missing. I was missing my own point. Yeah, d6 is a really decent move. We're threatening queen e2 check. Yeah, Snavel Joel. I totally missed because I was wanting to put our queen on e2 and I was totally missing that the queen defends the pawn. So d6 is really nice. It threatens just to win a piece with with queen e2 check. So I guess he might take on b3, he might take on f3, or move the queen. Move the queen is the straightforward option, queen b6, so that after the check he has king d8, although that's a terrible position for him. But at least that saves the piece and threatens the d6 pawn. So d6 queen b6 might be an option for him. Do we have something stronger? Sorry. I was calculating a crazy line with d6, queen b6, bishop takes f7, king takes 95 check, king back to e8, queen h5 check, and I think that's good for us, but I'm not sure. g6, knight takes g6, knight f6, something like that. Sorry. Oh man. Knight g5, yeah, maybe a little bit too slow. I have the feeling we have to be fast here. Our advantage has to be very, very temporal. Knight g5 is interesting. I guess he can play like d6. And we no longer have a strong threat. Yeah, I'm struggling to see something better than d6, but I'm also struggling to see the continuation after moves like queen b6. But yeah, d6 seems so natural. I was also considering bishop g5 in my head, and I guess that forces him to move the queen. Sorry, not to move the queen, but to move something like f6. Yeah, bishop g5 makes some sense, because then if he moves the queen out, queen e2 check still wins the piece, because now the king is cut. So after bishop g5, I guess the only move for him that makes sense to save the piece is f6. Otherwise, if he goes like... No, he always has queen e7. What was I thinking? Queen e2? He has queen e7. So yeah, you're right, Snable. I think bishop g5 he has knight f6, because if then queen e2, he has queen e7. And I'm not sure what am I doing. Now, I'm realizing we have another idea. No, we don't. Sorry. So everything suggests to start with d6. Threatening queen e2 check. And preventing queen e7. So I think queen b6 is pretty much forced there. I don't see anything better. And then, do we have something on f7? Well, after d6 we need to consider also bishop takes f3, but then his rook would be on pre, so queen b6 is no longer possible, but knight c6 is, but he loses the piece anyway. Queen b8, I guess. So d6, bishop f3, queen b8 is possible. And I'm not sure, because in both lines, d6, queen b6, and d6, bishop f3, queen b8, we are about to lose our d6 pawn. We still have a check to force king d8, and then we probably take on f7, but he's going to take on d6. But I guess we castle, and he's in trouble anyway. Okay, for some reason I'm not in the mood to calculate a lot today, so I'm going to move now. And I'm going to push the pawn, but wait, because Snavel Joe is suggesting 95 after queen e2, queen e7. 95? What about d6? I mean, what's our threat with 95? We prevented the queen trade, but I think with d6 he's forcing the queen trade again, because yeah, knight takes f7, king takes f7, so yeah, I don't believe 95. I would believe after queen e2, queen e7, I would believe something like d6, but I couldn't make it work. So I'm gonna push d6 and see what happens. Okay, he didn't go for my idea of queen b6. He went for queen f6, which I didn't see. But now what about bishop g5? He simply takes the pawn, and after the check he's screwed up, because my two bishops control a lot of squares. I think bishop g5 now is strong. Or even better, queen e2 check. What am I thinking? Queen e2 check, because bishop, yeah, actually bishop g5 he has bishop takes f3, but queen e2 check, and he has to lose a piece. Queen e2 check, now he has to lose a piece because he cannot go to d8 because of bishop g5. So queen e2, he cannot interpose the queen because these squares are protected by pieces or pawn, so he has to give up a piece. Okay, so I'm gonna play it. And I'm gonna take the piece. Okay, I didn't consider the problem would continue. I guess this is a simple move now. Okay. I guess the puzzles continue as long as the next move is a unique move. Because here only pawn takes knight would win, but yeah, it's kind of obvious. So yeah, it was interesting that bishop g5 seemed to fail to this. Yeah, nope, not that, this. So queen e2 was required. Okay, next problem. Good job. So apparently we're equal material now. I mean, we're a pawn down. He just took a pawn here. And what's the point? I mean, what if I take it? What is white's point? Not really fail. I think you would get the exchange with bishop takes h8 in the end. After bishop takes f3? I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know where you see a bishop takes h8 in that line. My bishop is on g5, and he still has a pawn on g7. So bishop takes f3. Ah, you mean if I take his queen? But then I'm giving up. I already gave up a knight on f3. I was considering to regain. Yeah, I'm losing the piece anyway on g5, so I have to take the queen. He takes my queen, and I take on g7. Okay, that's true. That's true. I'm probably winning an exchange there. but I already lost the piece, so yeah, probably not winning. Probably not winning. But yes, you are right. Bishop takes f6, bishop takes queen on d1, bishop takes g7, and then he takes on b3 twice. For example, no, he has bishop takes b3 in that line. If you remember the position, we had our bishop on b3. So with his bishop on d1, I think we didn't have the pawn on c2 anymore. Yeah, because in the opening he played c3. So the pawn is no longer on c2. So after bishop takes g7, he has bishop takes b3. And if I take with the a pawn, knight takes b3 threatens the rook on a1. So if I take on h8, he takes on a1. Huh. Maybe I still have knight a3 there, but yeah. We should go back to the position and see. I have the feeling that bishop takes b3 is good for black. Anyway, I play poker badly says this is unfair for these guys to play against Jesus without knowing. I still haven't learned to analyze blindfold. Okay. maybe later we could set up a board and put the pieces on the board. It's just about having the position in the head. But because we went through the opening, I remember the c2 pawn was missing because we play, white had played c3 d4 in the opening. Anyway, going back to this problem, this puzzle, what's wrong with taking the piece? What is white's idea after bishop takes knight? Queen e5 check is his idea, right? not so hard to see. And of course, if I take with the pawn, he takes the rook immediately. I guess we need to see in both of those lines if we have a strong counter attack or a way to trap the queen. If I have a way to trap the queen, it must be with bishop takes. Something like bishop takes, queen e5 check, king f7, queen takes rook, knight d7, protecting the e5 square, and the queen is trapped. But I still need to make a lot of moves to win it. No, I don't, because I have bishop b4 check. Oh, I was so stupid. Instead of knight d7, we have bishop b4 check. Yeah. So bishop takes queen e5 check, king f7, and he cannot take a rook because of bishop b4 check, and we take the queen. Yeah, this is so easy. Oh, king d7 was the solution, by the way, because I didn't calculate everything. I mean, I saw the trick, but I didn't see we had this additional option here. So I failed. That was minus 21. Oh, shit. Today I'm not in the best mood to do these puzzles because I'm playing without thinking. So okay, of course after king d7 he cannot take the rook because of this, and he loses the queen. And my mistake was to think that here it happens the same. And of course it happens the same. He cannot take the rook because of this. The problem is he probably has something better here, like pawn to f5. I'm not sure what's the difference between having the king on d7 and f7, actually. Well, I guess here I can protect e6. Yeah. Yeah. Typical mistake, yes. So I'm losing rating again. Okay, let's see if we solve this one. Why don't we take the piece? Okay. Take it easy, take it easy. Okay, bishop takes seems like a forcing move, not forcing because he can even take here and defend his bishop. So what about knight b4 or knight e1? Knight e1 no. What about knight b4, threatening the queen and this knight? He has to defend the knight, so after knight b4 I only see queen here and queen here. Oh, he has queen f2, which is probably better, not to ping himself. So knight b4, if he goes here or here, I have e5. The problem is knight b4, he has queen f2, and he's no longer pinned. I might have some tricks on c2, but those shouldn't be enough. Another idea is to start with knight takes b2, and if he takes, rook takes knight. But I guess he's not going to take my rook, and I just won a pawn. So now maybe it's the time to count the material. But we're a pawn down. We're a pawn down, so winning the pawn is probably not the best. After takes and rook takes, he has plenty of choices, I guess. It's still risky for him because my bishop is so strong here. But is it good enough? He cannot take the rook, that's for sure. Then after I move the rook, will he have a lot of problems with his queen and knight on c3? Probably. So knight takes b2 is a really interesting choice. He has knight b3 maybe. But then I just take on c3 with the queen. So it's important to remove the b2 pawn, so that the attacks versus against my queen don't work. So I like knight takes b2. I like it a lot. I think I'm gonna do it. I'm not thinking today, I'm not thinking. Because the other line, knight b4, queen f2, I can take on d4, take again, sack the exchange, and then regain the exchange with knight c2. Puzzle intuition says rook takes d4. Yeah, that's true, that's also true. That's more direct. Rook takes d4, and of course if he takes, we're winning material. And actually after bishop takes check, he moves the king, we can win, and I mean we can take on b2 then. So I agree with you, at this point I'm not seeing the difference between knight takes b2 immediately or rook takes knight. So when I don't see the difference, it's because I'm missing something, because there must be a difference. And if I still don't see the difference, I would go with rook takes, because it seems more forcing. So rook takes d4 defends the knight. If he takes, it's easy, so what else can he do besides taking the rook? He cannot go b4, he cannot go e5. I agree with you, Snavel Joel. Yeah, let's do it, why not? I'm still struggling to see what is the defense for white versus knight takes b2, but of course, as I mentioned, we're only winning a pawn, because he's not forced to take on d4. So yeah, that might be just the thing. I'm still thinking this is too scary for him, but maybe he has a way here to bail out. Maybe just overprotecting the knight. First time you've been right about anything? No, I don't think it's the first time. But yeah, you called for the intuition, and it's true. It's more intuitive to take the knight because the two lines sort of transpose only if he takes here, and then we're gonna take on c3, and in the line with rook takes, if we continue with knight takes, and we're gonna take on c3, like this sort of transpose, but only if he takes. So if they only transpose only if he takes, it's much better the line where we take a piece than the line where we take a pawn, of course. Okay, let's continue. Wow, complicated position. Fortunately, we're winning that rook, but oh man, these pawns do promote here. This is scary. Do we have a checkmate or something? I mean, I would love to take with the rook to have a lot of options. What is a black's threat? Let's move was this. He has no checks, so I guess the threat is just to keep pushing the pawns, or maybe take here first. So if I take with the rook, he cannot avoid the discovered check, and maybe even a checkmate pattern, because I can force him to h5. Well, if I have a checkmate, that could be better than allowing him to promote. I mean, that having to stop the promotion. I guess rook takes rook is the obvious first move. I don't see any other good idea. We could have king d2 at some point. Okay, our bishop is protecting b1. So I guess rook takes, and if b3 we go rook a5 check, at least taking the a3 pawn, defending the other promotion already with the bishop. That's totally safe for us, and if he didn't take on c4, we can even push our pawn. That's totally safe. So after rook takes rook, b3 is not a concern, and if bishop takes pawn, well, at least we have rook c5 check and take the bishop and threaten the knight. So yeah, that's game over. Okay, I'm gonna take the rook with the rook, and then we'll see. Now, we at least have this and take the bishop, and threatening the knight, so that seems threatening also b4. So after rook takes bishop, knight a2 seems only move. Then we have bishop c2 at least, and he's in Suxman in this side of the board, so we can then block with bishop b3, then take on b4. So that's winning. Rook c5 seems winning. Now, do we have a checkmate pattern here? Like rook here, king has to go here. Is there any checkmate there? Cannot see it. Because after the check he goes back. So, okay, let's go here. With some calm, unstoppable mate eventually, I'm not sure of that, Snavel Joe. I mean, once you see this, sorry, let's say here, these wins, you don't need any more. So he has to save the knight and defend the pawn. This is only move, and now this, followed by this, and followed by this, and yeah. This totally wins. And yes, we have the intuition that here there might be some checkmates, but I don't see them. So let's say he what do we? What's our construction? If we go here, he goes back. We would need then to make a lot of moves with the king to be able to play bishop e4 mate. So let's say we try to cut the king and he promotes. Yeah, I'm not sure. Where's the checkmate? We're a queen down. We still have a perpetual here. We still have a perpet. That would be annoying for black that has a queen up, but but I don't think we have a checkmate. Okay, let's continue. Knight takes b5. Do we have a checkmate? Okay, I'm really wanting to go e4 here to open to defend the g3 pawn, and then have the typical checkmate pattern with sacrificing the rook on h1. We also have this move. No, we don't. We don't have this move at all. We're checkmated. I mean, we have to give the queen back on c8. So but yeah, e4 seems like a move. Let's say, for example, e4, let's say he takes it. What else? I mean, either he takes it or he moves the queen somewhere else, and I don't see good squares for his queen. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's say he takes it. Then I wanted to play queen to e7, threatening checkmate in 3 or 4. This is a kind of puzzle that screams an eventual rook h1. Yeah, absolutely. But turns out that some white piece could be trapped with a pawn move. Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's that kind of puzzle. But okay, to make the rook h1 idea work, I need these two moves. I need e4, and after takes, which is not forced, I need queen e7. I mean, I need access to the h4 square with my queen. And I'm not sure if this is too slow. But he has no threat, so what's his defense after, for example, in this line, e4, pawn takes, queen e7? How does he stop the checkmate without giving the queen? He cannot control the h4 square? Well, he can do queen f6, yeah, queen f6. That would be the only way. I would love to have a bishop c5 check at some point, but it's not compatible with with these ideas. Unless we go rook f4. Nah. So, using Snable Joel's commentary on this is a typical puzzle where this is screaming and maybe we trap a piece with a calm move. What about... No, I'm kidding. Well, let's not be kidding. What about bishop b4? Threatening to take the knight that has no squares. I would be amazed if in this kind of King's Indian, actually not King's Indian, I don't know, black castle long, in this crazy position, opposite side castling, both sides attacking, both kings a little bit exposed, especially white's king, I would be really amazed that a move like bishop b4 just to win a piece would be the solution. And my idea is if he tries queen takes g3, threatening the rook that is defending the pawn, the bishop, sorry, then rook g4, winning the tempo, and then I take the knight. So after bishop b4, how does he defend the knight? I'm still scared that when I take the knight, I'm gonna be walking into a self-ping. But on the other hand, what else can he do? d6, knight takes c7, knight to d6. A lot of options here. I'm scared of opening the b file. The b file is already opened, so too complicated position. But bishop b4 is really a move to bear in mind. I guess he can go. Okay, e4 is maybe too risky because of bishop c5 check. But I guess he can go and try to block the defense like this with d4 maybe. Because then I cannot take, because he takes my bishop. And if I take the knight, then he has the other rook to b1. And I'm gonna lose my bishop. Unless I have something there like a checkmate. Then I might have rook f8. Wow, that's too complicated. So bishop b4, d4, queen takes b5, rook f b1. And I don't have rook f8. Just force issues with queen g4. Queen g4 in the first move. I'm trying to make it work. I'm trying to make bishop b4 work. But after d4, I'm not sure. Maybe I have e4 at some point in that line, but then I would prefer to start with e4, but then I don't have bishop e4, okay. So you're suggesting queen g4, and the idea is if he trades, then we take with the pawn and we have rook h8 and some mating ideas. Which is true, but he has like two moves to play rook up and king f1 and escape from the mates. So I don't see that's winning. And of course he's not forced to take on g4 as well. I mean, queen g4 is nice if he takes, but if he does not take, what is our threat? Our threat is rook h1. Yeah, that's true. So I can access h4 from the rank, not only the file, and that's interesting. Because I might not want to trade queens, but maybe I want to get my queen to there. No, Snavel Joe. If he does anything, no, more brutal than rook h2 is rook h1. Queen g4, and if he doesn't take, rook h1 check, queen h4 check, queen h2 mate. Unless that other move was moving the rook from f1, then after queen h2 is not mate, king f1, then queen h1, king e2. The pawn on g2 is defended. So yeah, that might not be mate anyway. So I guess he has several options after queen g2. He can, queen g4, sorry, he can trade. He can also move this rook here, for example, and rook h1 is not leading to mate. But anyway, I think that's not winning. That's not winning. He can trade, and let's say we take, he moves the rook up, rook h8, king f1, and we have no mate. So he can escape from the mate at least in two different ways. So queen g4 is not really my cup of tea. Queen e7, on the other hand, so I wanted to start with e4 and then queen e7, but what about queen e7 in one go? I'm still threatening the mate, and if he ever tries to move now the rook, I do have rook f8 followed by the mate, so he has to take on g3. So I guess e4 is required first to avoid queen takes pawn. Because queen here, queen takes g3, how do I win? Okay, so let's go back to my first idea, e4 followed by queen e7. I'm gonna do it, I'm too tired. No! Okay, I'm going to just give me one more puzzle and I will get below 2500. Okay, at least bishop b4 was not the solution. Too many options. Yeah, but we have to calculate. Okay, I'm gonna try queen g4. And what other options did I think? This. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, rook h1 cannot work. Okay. Rook f8, I said it doesn't work. Okay. Ah, rook g8. I didn't consider that. And queen g7, I didn't consider that either. Rook f4, I already tried. Maybe you are wondering why did I consider that move. I can't remember why did I consider that move. Why did I consider rook f4? Can't remember. Oh. Oh, I'm seeing one idea. No, not queen b5. I'm seeing this idea. Yes. Ah. So I saw the idea of bishop d4 and I didn't see the more obvious idea. Ah, shit. Yeah, so bishop b4 traps the knight, but it has some issues. This is main issue that I saw, that my bishop is pinned now and he has this. But rook b4 is easier than that because this is hanging, so if he trades, we have exactly the same but without the rook on b2. And this is falling and he cannot defend it. Yeah. So he took on d6 and then I'm exchange up. So it was actually easy puzzle. Nah, not easy, because it's just like you said, rook h1 was screaming in this position, not winning this piece. Yeah, you told me. So e4 doesn't work, I guess because he moves the queen. Something like this, for example. Or maybe to f6. Yeah. Yeah, that was stupid by me playing e4, because I thought after queen e7 he has queen f6. So that means that in this line he also has it. And then I have no attack. I cannot go like this because of this rook hanging here with check. So yeah, that was very stupid of me going there. Of course, if he doesn't do that, then I have the checkmate, but okay, let's move to another one. Deep deflections and 3-move piece trapping are the hardest. Maybe. Okay, now pieces hanging with check I can see. I can see it. So I mean, I guess his point is to go here and then threaten on h6, but I have queen back to g5, so what's wrong with taking the rook with check? And actually, he's threatening queen h6, queen h8 mate, so so we don't have a lot of options. So queen takes h4 check, and we're rook up. We're rook up. Rook h2, queen g5. And what next? Maybe some f6 check and then pawn takes d5 to enter with the bishop, but I have the queen on g5. Am I blind? Am I blind? Queen takes rook check. What's the deal? I might be blind. Maybe there's some trickery then. After queen takes g5, pawn takes g5, pawn takes d5 followed by f6, or e5 followed by f6. But he doesn't even have upper pet there. I put the king on g8. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Okay, so he starts with that check. Now it's important not to blunder. So if I take with the king, he has rook takes h6 check, and I lose my queen. I lose my queen because if queen takes h6, queen takes h6 is check, so I don't have time to go rook h8. So I lose my queen if I take with the king. And if I move the king up, then I might have real issues. So if I go back, he can take. He cannot take on h6, his queen is hanging. So I can go back. Or take with the queen. But then if I take with the queen, he can take on h6 with the rook. And I have queen f3 check. I'm not sure if that works. But I'm not, I don't want to go for the perpetual. I want to win. So king g8. He can trade queens and then play e5 and at some point rook h5. And he sort of has perpetual there once he goes rook h5. Because I have no time to run. Do I? King g8, queen g5, pawn g5, e5, I guess. Rook e c8, rook h5, and I cannot go rook king f8. Yeah, I think it's safest to take, safer. And if rook takes, I mean, I cannot go rook f8, and once he takes on g5, if I go rook f8, king f8, he can go rook h5, and then king e8. He always has bishop f5, so he's checkmating me. I still have king d8. No. It seems really dangerous. Queen takes f6. I think it's the move. King takes f6 is not a move. It's naval job. If I take with the king, he takes on h6 and I lose my queen. So what happens after queen takes f6? Why was I thinking he could take on h6? Queen takes f6. I don't see a problem. Now I don't see the problem I saw before. So queen takes f6, e5, queen back to g5. Okay, let's take. That's it. It's simple. It was really simple. Yeah, it was actually really simple. So here I would love this queen takes h6 was not a threat, a check, sorry, to be able to play rook h8, but it's a check, so I'm losing my queen. And on king g8, I have this and this, and this is perpetual, I think. There's no way I escape here, because if I try to run, I'm not in time, because I cannot move king f8 here because of the mate. And if I wait, okay, not a lot of waiting moves, let's say rook here, check, back to threaten the checkmate, and if I try to escape, ooh, I need to go here, and then probably this, and this, and maybe I'm even losing, look at all this. Okay, next one. Oh, I think I'm going to grab another coffee. Yeah, I'll be back in a minute.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it. No, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. No, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Why don't you buy my thing? Why don't you buy my thing? Yeah. Why don't you buy my thing? Because you down my rings. Oh yeah. So you have the hot stuff in town. Big shots can fool me around. Give me everything you got. Ain't got no money in my bank account. And I'm
Okay, I'm back. So, bishop h1 at once. You talking about this or the previous? Ah, you are talking about this. Bishop h1. Greetings, hello, fancy, hello, lemon melon. And bishop h3, of course, says Neveldil. So I have the two options. Suggested bishop h1 and bishop h3. Okay, so I think in this position it's very important to realize what's our opponent's threat, because he has a check here. He has also some ideas to threaten our queen and then attack a7. So maybe a previous sacrifice might have some sense. I honestly think bishop f1 is the solution. King a8. If check. Yeah, that's true. That's true. If check, king a8. But bishop f1 seems so winning. Okay, let's see the good points about bishop f1. First of all, I'm threatening mate, okay? He cannot take with the king because of queen h1 mate. He cannot take with the rook because of rook g8 and mate on g4. And I'm also defending b5, so if rook takes b5 check, I can choose to take with the bishop, although probably king a8 is better because I'm still threatening the mate. Now, after bishop f1, he can defend g2, so he can defend the mate, with or without taking on b5. So what I would probably do with white would be rook takes check, and after king a8, queen g4. Queen d7? Well, I was concerned about queen g7, but d7 is protected so far. After f6? What? What f6? Hey Dessert, maybe tonight, because when I end this session of tactics, I need to do some stuff for like 1 hour and something, so maybe tonight, maybe later, but not immediately after the puzzles. Snable Joel, I don't know what you mean by f6. I don't see anything going to f6 in this position. I might be blind anyway. So let's go again with bishop f1. I think bishop h1 and bishop h3 more or less have the same ideas, but bishop f1 seems so beautiful. Rook takes king a8, queen g4. Okay, so bishop f1, f6. Ah, you mean f3. You mean f3 after bishop f1, f3. To take and then queen d7 check. Okay, yeah, that's true, but first, f3 is not a move that I'm concerned about, but secondly, I was concerned about the defense queen g4, so that makes bishop h3 more desirable move, right? Bishop h3 is more interesting now than bishop f1. So bishop h3, rook takes king a8, and he has no queen g4, so he has no way to defend g2. So I think bishop h3 is nice, and it does protect d7 just in case you are worried about that square. I think it's not necessary, but the main point is it defends g4, but it doesn't defend g7 though. So bishop h3. Rook takes king a8, queen, sorry, whoa, what a move. Queen g7. And then I guess I have c2, c1. Yeah, c2 is also a strong threat. So if I have my diagonal protected, I mean the king is really safe on a8 with the queen on c6 and the rook on e8. Yeah, I think bishop h3 should win. Bishop h3 should win. And okay, let's consider f3 as you mentioned, but I guess I have queen g6, queen g2. Yeah, queen g6, queen g2 is force mate. So f3 is not really a problem. Okay, I think I'm going to play bishop h3. So if queen d7 first, I move the king here, and at least he can choose now to take with the pawn because he's defending the mate. And he would be threatening mate on a7. Did you go through rook e1 check? No, I didn't. because I had a feeling that only if necessary, only if I find a line like this one that I was looking now, where the rook on a1 is nasty, then I would consider to interpose rook e1 first. But my king is going to be very exposed if I do rook e1 first. Okay, let's repeat this line. Bishop h3, queen g7, check. King a8, I guess. Pawn takes b5, threatening mate on a7, and threatening the queen. Then I guess I go rook e1 check. Aha. No. No, because I'm checkmated on e8 anyway. So both queen g7 and queen g4 are nasty, and they cannot be stopped in one single move unless that move is rook g8. Is possibly rook g8 a good first move? Rook g8, and if rook takes b5 check, I go to a8. I mean, I'm defending all the ways he has to defend g2, so rook g8, rook takes king a8, and I'm still threatening to move my bishop and checkmate him, and I'm still threatening c2, c1. So I like that. I like that, because even if he takes with the pawn here, threatening my queen, threatening a7, I have bishop h3 and mate. So yeah, Snabel, it's quite forcing. It's really, really forcing. And he has no good checks, I think. Like rook here, rook takes, king a8, rook b8 check, I take it. If rook b1 I go back. If queen e5 check I go back to a8, or queen f4. He has no good checks to make any threats. Yeah, I'm gonna go for it. Rook g8. And he, oh, I did not see this option. I did not see this option, but I guess I have to take the queen. I mean, I can go king c8. So his idea is I take the queen, he checks me, and then I move my king, and he checks again. Do I go for that, or do I play king c8? Wow, this is interesting. He can sack again the queen if I go king c8. Yeah, king c8 is definitely a possibility. I don't see anything good for him. I'm still threatening mate. My rook is not defended, but he has no way to attack it. So, but if I take the queen, pawn takes b5 check, king b6, pawn takes c6 check, king c5. And I'm not threatening mate, that's the problem. I'm not threatening mate anymore. So he moves the rook. Rook b3, let's say. Bishop e4 checking f1, c2. That doesn't win, that doesn't feel like winning. So I guess I go king c8. Wow. Bishop h1 lurking after king c8. Yeah, after king c8, I still have the same threats. Bishop h3, bishop h1. I mean, bishop h1 he can go to f1. I think bishop h3 is the strongest threat that I had and that I still have after king c8. So okay, I'm gonna play king c8 because the other line I'm an exchange down and I don't see a clear mate. although I'm relying on king c5 and the path pawn, but not easy. But after king c8, what can he do? Bishop h3 mate is such a strong threat. He has to give up something like rook g4, f4. He can go f4. I think he cannot. Okay, I'm gonna play king c8. Wow, this puzzle is really, really nice. It's really nice. It always takes one more move than expected. Okay, so the obvious bishop d5 wins the queen. I think I have nothing better than that. I would love to have something stronger. But okay, bishop d5 check, queen takes rook, bishop takes g8, and then he takes on b5, and I still have a passed pawn. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of obvious. Yeah, plus 10, wow. But I guess, okay, this puzzle is rated 2400, and I guess we got a bit lucky here to find rook g8 in the end. Because there were a lot of interesting moves. This was interesting. This was interesting. The problem is after this and this, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So as usual, especially in the most tactical positions, you know, the most with many pieces, many obvious ideas, but not so obvious move orders, exploring all of them usually help finding the good move, because after looking the obvious bishop moves, I didn't find a good way to prevent both queen g4 and queen g7, and only then I thought, okay, the only move to prevent all of them is rook g8, and only then I found rook g8, which is of course another candidate move, but I'm not sure if I would have found it on a blitz game, honestly. Okay, let's continue. I clicked continue and what is this? This is okay, for a moment I thought it was the same puzzle, but no, it's a new puzzle coming from the same game. So I guess in the game, bishop h3 was played, and white took on b5 instead of playing queen g7 check. So we already saw this position, and we said king a8 was good. Let's see if that's true, because we also have the choice to sack the queen and go here and here. So king a8, still threatening mate, and I think the only... No, he has two ways to stop it. Queen g7 is one, and rook g5 is another. So our previous evaluation of the position, I missed this move when I was watching that. King a8. Queen takes b5, I see no problem. Well, I see a problem, we're giving up a queen. Queen b5, pawn takes, and he has nothing on light squares. I mean, if he had the queen on light square, then I would be okay with that, because rook check, bishop check, and then discovery to take the queen. But here I see no mate, and he's entering on a7 after that, so I see a problem in queen takes b5. I think king a8 is the only move. But what happens after queen g7 or rook g5? I wanted to play c2, so maybe c2 is the answer. He has to defend the mate, so I think queen g7 or rook g5 are the only moves. And if queen g7, for example, c2, I think that wins on the spot. He has no time to rook a5 and threaten mate because c1 wins. So I guess he goes rook c1, but then I have rook e1 maybe. I guess I have queen f3 threatening queen d1. Yeah, I think that should be winning c2. And against rook, sorry, that was queen g7. And against rook here, is c2 also winning? Queen a6 is better, otherwise he has queen d5 to exchange queens. No, he doesn't have it. Queen a8, queen d5, rook g8, oh yes, he has it. Yeah, I missed the queen was defending g8 from d5. Actually, yeah. Queen a6 seems scary though. But you might be right. You might be right. Yep. Yes, I cannot allow the queen trade. So I have to play queen a6. I mean, I cannot play king a5 if he has queen d5. I might still have... no. Queen d5 does not work. Now I see it. King a8, queen d5. I trade queens. Rook takes, rook g8 check. King here, bishop d2 check, king back, bishop takes rook check. And then then I'm already up on material, and I'm also going to promote this. So he cannot play queen d5. So still king a8, a possible move. But king a6 also. I didn't consider king a6. I have the feeling that the king is safer on a8. Maybe after king a6 I have some issues, some possible checkmate patterns. Fortunately, he has to prevent the mate. So after king a6, I guess he goes rook g5, and then he might go for queen check on d3 and win the bishop, or queen here to try and checkmate with rook a5. So yeah, I think the king on a6 has some issues. Good point, Snail. But I think the activity of the kings here is out of the question. Yeah, I think the king on a6 has some problems. As I mentioned, king a6, rook d5, defending against the mate, and then he has a fork to our bishop, and also queen b4 to threaten rook a5 mate. So yeah, I think it's too exposed on a6. So I will consider king a8, or queen takes b5. But queen takes b5, as I mentioned, I think we're not winning anything. We have a perpetual if we want, but I think we cannot win. So I'm gonna put the king on a8, and after he moves rook here or queen here, I think I'm gonna push the c-pawn. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Let's see. I failed. You might be right, Snabel. Maybe king a6 was the solution. Oh. Really? Really queen takes b5 is the solution? Oh, bishop c6. It's a checkmate pattern. Oh. Oh, bishop c6. Oh. So stupid. I should have calculated it. It's a totally forcing line. That's what you are supposed to do in this type of positions, to calculate the forcing lines. Why didn't I see bishop c6 here? Check, check, and bishop c6. The only move that wins here. The idea being this check here, and we have a checkmate going on. Oh, I missed it. I missed this. Wow, we didn't even smell it in the previous puzzle from the same game. Yeah, not that easy. Well, I don't know, because it's a typical pattern. I mean, I thought I didn't have anything else than a perpetual with bishop h3, but of course you have the pattern to go through different diagonal and checkmate. The problem is I didn't see, we did have this diagonal. Yeah. That wins, absolutely. That's why he checked here on g7, but yeah, in that case we're just up on material, we're up a full piece. Okay, so plus 10 in the previous one, but minus 20 in this, and closer to getting below 2500. Let's continue. I should change the title of the stream, I guess. Okay, at least we have a different game now. Queen d3 was played. Queen from f3 to d3. Where does this come from? So we have a strong pass pawn here, and the queen. What's the queen doing here? I guess he wants to prevent us from controlling this for some checkmate patterns, and he also wants to go to c4 to attack this guy over here and defend any promotion. But what if we prevent that with c4? And then we push c7. C4, queen takes d4 check. Maybe that's an issue. c7, what can he do? That's a good question. That's the most forcing move. Queen c4, we have rook b8 check. King moves. And we take a full rook. We cannot promote, that's true, but we can take a rook. So if queen c4 does not work, what else can he do? Rook c8, rook b8, queen a6, and at least he prevented the promotion. I guess that's what he can do. c7, rook c8. Rook b8, queen a6. Do I have something better? Rook b8, queen a6. I might have queen a3. Is that too crazy? Yeah, it's too crazy. Yeah, queen a3 does not work. But he can't do anything. I mean, the queen is stuck on a6. It has no moves, no other moves. So that construction is bad for him. If that's the only defense, we're winning. c7, rook c8, rook b8, queen a6 how does he move any piece? He cannot move the queen, he cannot move the rook. The only thing he can do is getting the king closer, but it's a long way. So I guess we can enter with our queen b2, queen b7, and that's it. Or even queen f4, queen d6, queen d8. Yeah, I think that construction cannot hold because he has no checks. So I guess I go queen b2, not queen f4, to prevent queen a1 check. Sorry. So c7, rook c8, rook b8, queen a6, queen b2. And he cannot take a rook, he cannot take on c7, he cannot move the queen, he cannot move the rook. King f8, we just go queen b7, I guess. Sorry, queen b7 is not best. Queen... rook takes and queen b8, maybe easier. Yeah, rook takes and queen b8. That's a strong threat. Okay, I'm gonna do it. Okay, so he moves the king. So everything that I said is out of the question now. So what happens after rook b8, threatening promotion? He has no checks. He goes queen a6. That's sneaky. Rook b8, he has queen a6. Rook b8, queen a6. Still, I think then he's a little bit stuck. So we could go like queen b1 check and queen b7. No, not queen b7. Okay, I still think he's stuck. He has no threat. Because he can never go queen a7 because then we promote. So I guess then we do something with our queen. I'm still figuring out what do we do. But if he ever checks us, we can go to h3. So I'm pretty confident in that line. Okay. Okay, so okay, now I really want to go queen b1 because, for example, if I promote, I guess he goes queen e2 and then I resign. Well, I can still give up the queen for the rook with queen b1 check. Rook h8 check, yeah, that's also true. But why would I give up the rook if not for something stronger? I mean, if I go rook h8, then I promote with check, okay, but then he goes back to h7, and what do I have? He's still threatening some construction, and I have no further checks. I have two queens versus rook and queen, but he has a strong construction going on. So I prefer to get rid of his rook. So one idea is queen b1, to trade queens. And then if rook a8, I have rook b8, so I will promote anyway. So it's kind of the simplest one, I think. I don't know what can he do. Maybe like rook a1 and then hope for some perpets. But oh, maybe he has perpets. I guess he doesn't have perpetual, but that's an interesting idea. Rook a1 and then have like 100 million checks. I still think there is no perpetual. I still think my king at some point will pass to the c file. Rook c2. Yeah, I didn't see that. And then I take the rook, he takes, I promote, and he has perpetual. So, yeah. Oh man. So what was my other idea? because I had another idea. Rook b2 was other idea, but no, I did have another idea. What was it? Queen b1 check, yeah. So my another idea was after, I mean, just to promote, and after queen e2, which I think is only move, because if queen f3 I win the rook with queen b1, so I think he has to play queen e2, then I go queen b1 check, and I sack my queen for the rook, and then I think with his queen on a2 he has no perpetual checks, because he has no check on b1, so he's never going to check me once I'm on h3. So that was my other idea, just to promote, and after queen e2, queen b1 check and sack the queen for the rook, and I'm a rook up, and he has no perpetual. I think that's what I will do, but it might be the case that this is where I'm going to be below 2500 now. Let's see. Okay, so he changes the approach and goes rook d2, precisely because of probably the line I was saying, and I can still sack the queen now, because queen takes queen is not a check. But I still want to protect against the perpetuals. I could try queen b1 now. No, rook d1, and yeah, it's stupid. So queen takes rook is an option. Rook here is another option. Actually, rook here is another option. I don't mind sacrificing my queen, that's what I was going to do. But the idea being that now my rook is helping, so after king f2, for example, he has no further checks. So rook b2 is another option here. He has this check. Ooh, that's a nasty check. Queen e3 check is a nasty check because it forces me to h1 and then queen here and queen mate. Oh man. So okay. So maybe this position is easier than I thought, because he's threatening mate, he's threatening check. I cannot go here because of the mate. So check here, check, back, and mate. So okay, Snaveljoel says queen e1. Okay, that definitely prevents the checkmate pattern. We don't have a lot of options to prevent it. So either I take the rook immediately, or I go and protect e3 and or f3. So another option could be queen f1, but I think there's no difference between queen f1 and queen e1 if he goes rook d1. So queen e1, What about queen a6? Yeah, I thought queen a6, but not now, because now I thought queen a6 after taking the rook, because if I go queen a6 now, he checkmates me with queen a3 check. Yeah, so queen a6 is not a good move here. It's checkmate in 3. But taking the rook and then after takes queen a6 is definitely an option. It's definitely an option. Queen b1 might also be an option. It also prevents the checkmate for one move. But after rook d1 check, I have to take. And if I had to allow queen takes queen back with check, that cannot be the best line. So I think I'm gonna take the rook. or play queen e1, but queen e1 seems so slow. I think I'm taking the rook. That's forcing. It forces him to take, and then I'm going back to the defense. Either rook b1 or queen a6. The problem with queen a6 is it hangs the c3 pawn, but I don't mind, I guess. The thing is to prevent the perpetuals, and the problem of rook b1 is my rook is undefended, so I guess queen a6 is better. So queen takes rook, queen takes rook. Rook b1 will hang the rook, yeah, at some point. That's the problem. After queen e3 check, he will take the rook in the next move, in the 2 moves later. So yes, rook b1 is not an option, but queen a6, and the queen tries to get to the rescue. Yeah, then if he checks on the back rank, I can already go queen f1, and if he checks on e3, I go king g2, then queen d2 check, king h3, and he has no more checks. I like that. And if he tries on the light squares, like queen d2, queen d2, queen a6, on the light squares would be queen d1 check, king g2, no, sorry, queen f1 there. So the only way for him after queen e3 check, king g2 is queen e4 check. Then instead of king h3 I would go king f2. If queen f5 I already go to the other side with king e1. And if he goes queen c2 check, I have queen e2. Yeah, okay, I'm going to take the rook. And queen a6 now. Wish me luck here, because yeah, I was about to get below the 2500 in this one. Okay, now my idea is, okay, the queen is coming here, so if he ever checks me here, I'm already, let's say this might be clever, more a better approach for black, but he's running out of checks now because my queen is protecting some important squares, and if check here, 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 at some point I will have all checks protected, and here even the pawn defended, so that's not the best for black. And if he tries on e3 first, then I thought here, and instead of going here where he can repeat, I would go here, and if queen here, here. Not here because of queen c2, but here because b1 is defended. And I'm running. And if instead of that he tries this first, then I already have this, and I don't mind losing that pawn because I'm up on material. I can even sack this pawn, probably not necessary, probably this or this. Yeah, probably this would be okay. Very nice, because yeah, kind of several surprises in this problem. Thank you, Snailjoe. Several surprises. Here I thought he would go here, 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 and he has the construction, but I think here threatening rook takes and queen b8, he can't do anything. And first surprise came here with king h7, and then I thought, okay, he will go queen a6 here, keeping this defended. But I thought again this, and maybe this. But second surprise here, he went for the counterplay. Very good option with this threat. And yeah, I promoted because if I try some clever stuff, I might be losing. And now the idea is if he goes here, I have check and I'm gonna sack. And then this is protected, so I will go to h3 if he starts checking me. So here, instead of allowing that, he went rook d2, and I finally have to sacrifice, otherwise I might be in trouble. Like, Snaveljoel suggested this move, which is nice if he takes, but of course he has a checkmate here. If I go here, this is checkmate, and if I go here, this is checkmate as well. So because this is, he has this strong threat, I either have to take or go like here. Okay, it was nice. Let's continue. I think I have time for one more, maybe two. So let's try. Okay, this is an endgame. And our knight is on pre, but we have this check to win a piece, but he has this lot of checks in here, so complicated. We would love to have a check on this diagonal, but we don't. The thing is, if he ever checks me here and I go here and he checks me here, he no longer has the queen on the e-file, so after king g4 he only has checks with his pawns by sacrificing them. So that might be an idea. So for example, if pawn takes and he wants to start checking me, then he has to be careful. He has to be careful. Queen e7 can come, and he might be checkmated. My king can even go king h5, king g6, Nigel Short style, and checkmate him. So I think queen e2 is not a big danger in the position, because I always have this path. Maybe it's a danger in the sense that he goes back to back here to check again. But then I have g4 or f5, depending if I take here or not. But okay, let's say queen e2 is not a big threat. Queen b7, yeah, queen b7 is definitely to be considered. And after king goes back, king has to go back. He could even try king h8, because knight g6 is not a big deal, or is it? Well, at least it's risky. I understand king h8 it's risky. Because if queen e2 is not a big deal, then I take the bishop. Yeah, true. So after queen b7 he has to go king g8, and then you suggest f5, which is a good suggestion because we're closing that diagonal, so if he starts checking us, we go to g4. The goal is to protect the knight or gain some tempo to take on a7 without losing material. Yeah, that might be, but I would prefer to have a checkmate pattern as well, because I'm scared of this type of endgames where black has this pawn here, which is very dangerous. We don't have such a pawn ourselves. So even if we take the piece, if our king is cornered in one side and queens are still on the board and this pawn starts running, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm ambitious. Yeah, I'm looking for the checkmate. So after king g8, I mean, I have the feeling queen b7 is a good first move. And after king g8, we might even consider queen a8 check. Did you see that? Maybe we can take the bishop with check, and then the question is obvious. Then it's obvious we are winning. Queen b7 check, king g8, queen a8 check. Next move is queen takes bishop check. Nothing can be wrong about it, right? Because we can even repeat and get the king back to the... Yeah, I think that should be it. Maybe we can argue that we might have some checkmate with the king on g8, and the king can... Maybe we're helping him But I don't think so. I mean, if we take the piece with check, that should be good, because then we save the knight. Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm not going to even assess the final position. I'm going to take the bishop with check. Yeah. Okay, let's do another one. I have time for another one. Okay. Sorry. Okay. For some reason, I'm trying to checkmate here as well in this position. I don't know why, but I have the feeling that positionally we're not in good shape because our passed pawns are not going to promote anytime soon. Rook b7. What? Rook b7? Ah, rook c7. That's a nice idea. I guess he takes on d3 though, and then I'm not sure. Yeah, rook c7, queen takes d3. I don't know. I don't like it. But yeah, it's an interesting idea. I guess if we want to use that pin, we need to take first. Knight takes, bishop takes, and then rook c7. And then we're winning, because if he tries to defend with rook d5, we have knight takes e6 check, and the queen is no longer defending the e6 pawn, so we're winning the queen. Did you see that? Knight takes, bishop takes, rook c7, and if rook d5, what am I saying? What am I saying? We don't have a knight on c5. Yeah, knight d takes c5, bishop takes, rook c7, rook d5, a7. a7, that's the win. That's the win. So yeah, I think that's winning. What can he do instead of that? Wow. It's a pity, because I wanted to checkmate him somehow. But yeah, there's no way I would do that. Okay, let's go for it. Okay, so he gives up. He gives the piece up immediately. Knight d or e? Of course, knight e. Knight e. Knight e takes. Yeah. I had to keep d4 blocked. So now the question is, do I take with the rook to defend the pawn? Or do I keep this blocked? Yeah, it's a lot of ups for taking with the rook. Or do I take with the knight, threatening the queen, winning a tempo, but then this pawn is free to move, the queen will win a tempo back. Okay, let's take with the rook. Yeah, because if I take with the other knight, I don't know, maybe he has this and I might be in trouble now. The rook is defending, and yeah. Now, of course, I have to take with this knight. And the only way to defend this is with this, but then a7, yeah. Okay, and now I definitely have to leave. It's been 2 hours now. And I managed to get down a lot. I think these 3 reds in here are from this session, these 21, 20, and 20 are from this session, which I started around here. The first one was a +3, one of these. Yeah, I started like in 25.50 and I'm in 25.20 now, so Nice. Yeah, yeah, I like this session. I thought I was playing faster than usual, but maybe that's reflected in the three reds in there. But I guess you also prefer me not to spend all half of the time of the stream in one single puzzle. So I try to keep it this way. And yeah, if I manage to find time, I will be streaming tonight or tomorrow in the night some chill only chess, some puzzle, some not puzzles, sorry, some tournaments, games or so. And otherwise, if I don't stream before, I will be streaming definitely on Sunday, where I'm going to be analyzing my game of Saturday that I will be playing. I will be playing again in board number one for my team. I guess it's going to be a tough game. I hope we have a nice game to analyze on Sunday. So, see you guys. Bye bye.